important tablet with which Baha'u'llah turns to the Jewish people. And the appointment with the hands of the gods, it is the appointment of the apostles of the Baha'u'llah. Now, this is a little thought to give it to you. If you have a good working brain and you would like to know more, you go and read the tablet, because very all the Guardians has written about. So we go about it, back to the Guardian again. As I said in the first day, can you turn the light out, please? The light out. No,
It's very hot, those lights.
Can I turn it off?
as I said in the other time. At lunch, I was speaking to some friends, and we had a very interesting, that's all right, no more, this was a blind, and I was speaking about Napoleon I, who dreamed of united Europe. But those days, the days of the great powers were being born, England Empire, Germany Empire, France Empire, and all the other ones, Austria, Turkey, etc. And I was saying to the friends at the table, Napoleon used to dream at night what he was going to do next. And I am sure of this, because by seeing the Guardian every day, I noticed that he had made a dream the night before. And the dreams were his plans. And he was joyous. He would come at the table, and his face was shining with an inner light of joy. He had created something. He was going to do something. This is quality that the young lady was sitting at the table around me. He said, "Can you dream at night?" "Yes, you can dream at night." I myself, I don't compare myself to the Guardian. I cannot dream about many things. But I make my first decision between the early hour between 3 in the morning to dawn. The mind is tranquil, rested. You try. But I'm speaking about a molder of a new civilization of civilization. And every day you had something new. So, in the little time we have, unfortunately, I can take one case only. The Guardian spoke very often to me about his plan. I'm not exhibiting myself as a confidant of the Guardian, not in that. But he singled me out of the thousands of people who work for him. And he had much trust in my integrity. This is very important. And so, when there was something serious that was going to happen, he would tell me. and I rejoice with them. The other day, I asked here to the friends how many ever read the God passes by. And maybe 2% who was present. Dear friends, I tell you, I am in transit, and I'm more over the other side than this side. You cannot deeply appreciate and love the cause of God unless you really God passes by. He is the pattern of the world, step by step. It took Shoghi Effendi 2 years to go through 10,000 documents in Syriac, in English, in Turkish, whatever writings they were about the faith. And he gathered it all together, and studied it all together, and then they sat down, and with 2 fingers, he typed in the manuscript of the book. I rejoice. They think I'm an agent of the publishing company. Because one point I wanted to, one time somebody said to the gardener, he's not a good buyer, and the gardener reprimanded him and said, in the buy trade there is no good buyer but buy. There is only a buy. And when you reach that perfection, there is no question. If you don't read the history, the beginning, the suffering, what everybody went through, you'll never know what the faith is. I don't want to offend anybody, please. You can't. You know, I see with the different eyes maybe. And you go through the book, and you see the suffering of a Bahá'í, and he's exiled, and he's imprisonment, and he's exiled again, and so on and so on. And then you get the period that something is growing into the faith. It is a certain quantity of order which does not exist yet. Completely does not exist. And fault is all yours and mine. Because I should never told you these things before, but I told you before, but didn't register. We take one chapter, and the gardener rejoiced. 3 pages, he writes to the world that there is, he wrote the book, was published in 1944. He is to celebrate the 1st centenary of the revelation of the Bahá'í. And there are 3 pages of committees. Why you in your communities? How many committees you have? 3 committees limping with the backache, headache, and something else. They function and don't function. But he enumerated them one by one. One by one. Why don't you make a good committee? Don't think that the power should be in the hands of the National Assembly. I was telling the friends at the table, I think they got disgusted with me. The service of the institution, the faith, are a service of a service, servants. We have no field marshals in the faith. Nobody's a field marshal. Even the hand of the cross is no field marshal. We are the defender of the faith. We are the protector of the faith. The hand of the cross, what is it left, you know? It's a handful of decrepit looking men. He's only young man who is the Philistine. God may keep him alive as strong as he is now for another 50 years. have to tell some kind of a historical fact. Because the Pope was having her birthday. And the courier, that is all the gathering of the cardinals, they went to him, and the dean of the courier kneeled in front of him, kissed his ring, and he said, Your Holiness, hundreds more of this day. And the Pope looks at him. He said, don't put any limitations to the will of God. You see? So I'm not putting limitations to the will of my God. I say 50, let's make 100, make 1,000. The joy of the guardian. And he goes from one committee and to another committee and to another committee. And at that time, in 1944, they were about no more than 9 national assemblies to the world. The Guardian was looking forward. He repeated this to me over and over again. I don't want to do anything with administration. The administration will be in the hands of the National Assembly. As soon as the House of Justice will come into existence, then I will be happy. I will write and teach the course. This is the spirit that you should be leading into the faith. Don't worry about it. Don't wish you had a sash ordering, commanding general of the faith. Nobody commands in the faith. And more humility you acquire, the better you do. So, in 1944, the Guardian had, just before, had one of these dreams. And he called for a celebration, a commemoration of the first, the declaration of the Bahá'í, 1844, 1944. And 3 years before that, the Japanese had bombed the island of the Hawaiian Islands and made a havoc. I've been there many times, terrible. A great and great stupidity. And we had this meeting, and it was wartime. And it was very difficult to travel and train. You needed special permission. Everybody was considered a spy or a traitor, so everybody was sifted through it. And we celebrated the declaration of the Bahá'í. We were not very many, maybe 200 or 300. I don't think we took 300. But in the vision and thinking of the Guardian, he was looking forward to do something that would leave a mark and milestone in the history of the faith. We had a pleasant time. There were many misunderstandings. He sent a picture of the Bible to be shown to the friends and said nobody should take a photograph. So the illustrious member of the National Assembly, picture of I wasn't allowed to take care. I went and pleaded with every member of the National Assembly. They said, no, the Guardian doesn't allow the camera inside. And it was not true. So they had hired a man. He's now pioneering in Latin America. Was supposed to be a professional. Paying $10,000. The picture didn't come out. And this poor servant here, he took some pictures. I only could take it at the outside. Couldn't take it inside because the man who was guarding the door, he said, if you take that cover in there, I'll smash it for you. They smash it for me. I didn't take it inside. But I made a nice picture. And I have the names of those who were busing. There was a man who was a Peruvian. His name was, they give him name of animal, capra. Capra is a goat. And he was a drummer in a circus. Nice circus. A little primitive man, but very good. I took his picture. And then there were other people, Indians, and there were other people from, there was a young woman who was a pioneer in Alaska. And I took a picture. I went into the train and I saw these people coming down and walking towards the temple. The temple wasn't finished. This a side information. Well, I had the picture developed and I wanted to mail it. Mail office said, you have to go to the, there is a government that goes through everything. I can't remember. So, about 4 months later, I got a telegram from Sugar Family. Delighted. You see, at least I said a little bitter. You couldn't see inside. But he was delighted, and it shall be shown, this picture shall be shown to all the pilgrims when the pilgrimage is a bit later. I don't know if it is shown now, it doesn't matter. But he was overjoyed. Now I go, this is a side episode, there's no importance in this matter. What is importance in this matter was to show a friendly at the plan ready. One is early morning plan. And this was in 44. And the war did not end in 45. And when he went back home, he planned, Sheriff Fendi never gave plans to England, except this one. He had been a student in England, and he had discovered in the British people a certain quality that there was the second 7-year plan. They had to have, starting this plan, they would have to have one assembly in every country of Europe. One assembly in every country. We were celebrating this morning where we went, etc. Which started in 46. The first assembly, you had, we speaking this morning, the regional assembly was elected in 49. If you want to see a picture of those dear people, you take a Bahá'í world, which includes the year 49. And there is the assembly in Oslo, which was the regional assembly for all of Scandinavia. Don't you feel proud? Of course we feel proud. these are efforts. They are efforts made with struggle. First of all, lack of authority. Only few care. Lack of funds. We didn't have a way even to rent a place to make a seat for the local assembly, which later on will be for the National Assembly. But all this is foreseen in the sixth congress. And there is a little exodus of dear people who were banking everything in their saving. I remember people had a little money, it was stolen from them and they had no money. They came to Europe to teach people. They came to Europe from many parts of the world. Not many. Not many. But they were fallen, and the desire of Giachery to start something lasting and dramatic. I was telling the friends that myself and my wife had become long time before. We couldn't do anything because there was no administration, there was no pioneer or something like that. But we brought the Spirit, not to the guardian, because, well, the Spirit of the guardian. But at that time I was not under the post. But we had the faith in our heart. And of course, my wife being a Scandinavian Swedish, she was delighted. We met a few of the very first believers that came. And I must say that those early believers were mostly Christian. Giachery was 2 years old and named him William. Giachery did not know. And they said that the Giachery had falsified the system. It's all nonsense. And he was much distressed. He was irritated. The behavior of his family. He was in England studying. Exactly. The grandfather was very ill. And it is dramatic that the telegram was sent to Bahá'í, who was a physician, took him to a place where he tried to eat. It was impossible. Giachery was very, very close to become very ill. Love for his grandfather, none one of us has ever experienced. It was the source of his wisdom, of his joy, of his happiness, and he could not know. Took him many days to put him in condition. And there was a dear lady, who was a lady by the crown, and had an entry in the the government, the Queen's Palace. No, it was the Queen. It was the Queen, and I think it was anybody the son of no, I don't know. I don't think it was the son of Queen Victoria. And she and a younger sister of the guardian. He had 2 sisters and 2 brothers. ship, and we went into Alexandria and Cairo, and from Cairo to Ramla, and from Ramla they arrived at the rail station of Haifa. And it was under the mandate of the League of Nations. Fujita, the Japanese young man who became an assistant in the household of Abdul went to the other two believers. He said it to me, Fujita. We had to carry me out of the terminal. Lady Blomfield was there, his sister, actually, he could not walk. He was so shocked. In the reading of the Testament, I repeated this again. Shaykh Effendi never seen the Testament and never read it. Never knew what was in the Testament. It was found out the Testament was written in 1902 when the government of Istanbul wanted Abdul Bahá'í to be taken there and be judged. And so there would be decapitation, whatever there would be. But Abdul Bahá'í wrote the Testament. He was living in this tottering house that has been reconstructed, called it's called the Abdullah Pasha. But Abdullah Pasha lived a long time before. He said to me, I couldn't get well. I suffered. My master, well, they used the methods they had in Islamic country, it was still part of the Ottoman Empire and was ruled with Islamic law. They were to wait 40 days from the session, from the on the 40th day, there was a gathering. And we all gathered together. And they were the daughters of the master, and all the relatives and their children. A good crowd, about 40 people were there. He said that the bill was open and was read. He said, in that moment, all the eyes of the present one, they were staring at me. How could they pick up a little shogi and make him a Maliamrullah, the guardian of the Quran? The master knew better. He said it was the most agonizing moment, still. And then from the moment on, it was a conflagration of hatred, envy, distrust. What Shaykh Effendi went through all his life. I tried to describe it before we all take it out. But he had to battle with himself. He couldn't disobey Abdul. But he felt, he said, I was incapable. How could I be a wali of Allah myself? See? What a lesson for many of us. We think we are a field marshal. And we are nothing but a handful of dust. And all the rest of the family, they were all field marshal. And they were going to decapitate everybody. That's the Roman I told you before. He had a suffering. he wasn't able to say yes. He went to it. And he went. And he returned at the very beginning of February 1922. And he asked friends in America and one in Persia to come and consult with him. Some of the friends who went there have written something. I mentioned one or two letters in my book. He had made his decision. He was renouncing to mundane life as we understand, with all this amusement, with all this eating, with all this pleasure, with all this amusement, etc. And he started his Calvary, which he lost until the very end of his life. And he thought to them, in my book, there is a drawing made by a very fine Persian artist. Persian may know him, Samimi. And it is from a photograph I had, small photograph. And I gave it to him and I said, Mr. Samimi, will you make a portrait, natural size? He said he gave me a month of a time. And a month later, he brought the picture and made me cry. Was the guardian alive in the early days of February, who was carrying some flowers in his hands to bring on the grave of the Lord. And the other friends who were there, they all agreed that they could do nothing which offended him, as for the Bible. He had this great wisdom with him already, as he was taking what you call the rudder of the destiny of the faith. All suffer. And he started with one thing. I make a step backward. Once I say to the guardian, beloved guardian, what will happen when we have millions of people in the faith? How are we going to rule them? How are we going to keep them together? He said, let's wait until we get there. That's what his answer, great wisdom. And now we are in this interim. Let's wait until we get there. What did he do the first thing? I don't know, I can't speak very much. He said, we waited until we waited there. And the first thing he did, asked a famous lawyer, American, wealthy family, who could, a lawyer who could practice before the tribunal at the Hague. His name was Montfort Mills. He was somewhat older than myself, but he was a great friend of mine, a fun gentleman. When his wife died, he went and lived in one of the university clubs there. A very likely man, who was, I think he was the very first chairman of the National Assembly of America and Canada. But what did he do? Asked him. To make a book of The word is not rule, but will never come to me. I'm a little tired. I don't been feeling well today. A book of a procedure. Have you ever seen a book of a procedure? I said, anyone, wait a minute, now you don't know the answer because you are out of the questions. Have you ever seen a book of a procedure?
Yes.
The first one made on the instruction of a sheriff. I'm sure they never seen it. Whatever I go and ask it, they've never seen it, they don't know anything about it. And they invent things. There is a book of proceedings dated 1922. I've been losing my breath for years to tell National Assembly to use the book of a procedure made by instruction of Sheriff Friend. Nobody knows where the book is. Nobody knows what to do with it. They all invent. I hear things that they are unbelievable. I tell you, friends, all the distress and clashes which ever place in national assemblies and local assemblies are because they don't know what the book of the procedure is. And before the celebration of the centenary of the Bahá'í Declaration, he added a book larger and final, and it is dated 1942. I have it. The National Assembly of Sweden has a photocopy. I don't know if they ever read it, and if they have not read it, I recommend it to them to study, and make a committee and study together, and adopted the book of the procedure. I've seen an assembly, I shouldn't say this thing, but I'm on my way out, and nobody will be getting me this thing. Conflict all the time, for nonsensical matter. I've seen in assembly where they take chairs to try to beat each other. I've gone to National Assembly in a room full of smoke. You could not see anybody. I walked away. This is not the thing of God. It is a thing. And there is this. But why don't you use it? No, they know better. They put in a great uniform with pinnacles or whatever you call it, feathers, and spears in the hand, and they go into the assembly. I'm going to tell them something today. This is happening all the time. This is not you want to make Scandinavia the leading country of the faith in the world, you start anew. With understanding, with sympathy, no praising and embracing and kissing. A relative word. You can love a person without embracing and kissing and give your life for that person. We should realize we are an example of order in the faith. Order and perfection. Every word is written in the writing of the Bible, the law, and the Master points to the way to perfection. And what a joy to be. You don't go and look yourself in the mirror and find out if the rouge is in its right places. You look on your conscience, and the conscience says, you're doing pretty well. Now, and so we added this wonderful plan, the 7-year plan, I remember myself, and we went to my wife, we went to Italy. But in 48 we had the assembly already. And in the following year. And we had no pioneers from the Romans. I was very distressed. Really distressed. Like they were taking the nails above my finger. Italy, bulletin of pioneer comes from England. Italian government looking for pioneer. They were just smashing my head. They just letting, they making things new. I tell you, part of my illness is this. I might be mad, you might put me in one of these straight jackets that they put for the people. You count. You must recede 10 steps backwards. Please. You don't know what the joy is of accomplishment. In the world of the Spirit, I don't think you feel like the angel. Perhaps there are some friends that rather start. I don't think they can grow wings so fast to go. But it is a spiritual lightness that makes you forget all the old things and gives joy and friendship. Open arms and friendship. Is the joy of achievement, and this is what we show it from there. But I think that somebody is making a sign to me. The hour has passed a long time ago. I am sorry. It didn't work many things, it didn't work what the way I wanted. There is much more, I should say. We say we have no time. By tomorrow, everybody started to pack and everybody go in. Oh, we'll be at school. Oh, it's wonderful. We have 3,000 persons there, and 2 million children running around and so on. That isn't the difficult. Recommendation. Review all your policy of your National Assembly. Make as many committees as you can. Sugar friend, this is about 100 committees. And induce them to work in cooperation and joy with you. Not to solve the problem, but to play a game in which you win a great prize. This is one. Every more international contact. Don't think that you are a Dane or you are Swede, you are better than the other one. Oh, these people, they're those Swedes, they make me square head. Oh, no, it's not so. Make friends. Have this meeting more often. Not numerous like that. Live with the children in the nursery. And when you get it together, you speak sense. How can we do this? How we can embellish it? How we can make contacts with the world? You know, the Italians sometimes, I don't have anything anymore with the Italians. They go in front of a church and leave a pamphlet to harass the priest. But this is nonsense. This is not the way to spread it. You spread the faith with dignity. With dignity. With dignity. You are the ambassador of the greatest kingdom in the world. Dignity. The guardian play for dignity constantly. Make everything with dignity. He didn't like shabby people come around and do it. No, with dignity. We are not selling said to me, you make a gift. The best gift you can give to any living man is to speak about God. You can keep giving a diamond ring to your wife and a necklace. It is useless. But to the world, speak dignity with dignity. I don't bring myself as an example because I'm not an example of anything. I'm an example of a broken bones now. Don't dignity, with dignity. You know the dignity? Very few kings are elected with dignity. One man who I have loved him dearly and something happened was the king of Samoa. 3 generations back they were anthropologists, they were beating men. But everything he did with dignity. I loved him, I still love him. I loved him, I loved his son, I loved his wife, they're both dead now. And he will soon go because we saw it. Dignity. I have met many people. I have met scientists. I have met a Nobel Prize. I'm not bragging here because I don't get any material recompense and I don't care. But the dignity. You bring the most precious jewel. The most precious gift is like giving the Buckingham Palace to somebody, even better than Buckingham Palace. Or Balmoral Castle in Scotland. Much more than that. The entire empire of the United States, they don't call empire, they are the Democrats. You give the dignity. When you speak of the faith, you speak with dignity. And you don't feel that you are, Ginabuffa said, I was corrected in the pronunciation, but I cannot do any better. He was offshore, put the iron shoes in the horses. And he was the greatest teacher that they had. The chairman wants me to stop and I have to stop and I don't want to quarrel with him. He's stronger than I am. Somebody came very Mickey to me and he said, tomorrow you have to speak to the youth between 0 and 25. I can speak to 0 and 25. If you come here, you better bring your shields because hailstones are coming down on you. Protect your head, protect your chest and everywhere. Wear an armor, a mask against the glass, and then I'll speak to it.
Dr. Giachery, on behalf of all of the people here, I would like to thank you deeply for sharing with us your recollections, your memories of service to the Blessed Duty, of service to Shoghi Effendi. I think we're all touched and moved deeply by what you have shared with us now, by the fact that you are here among us. I think many, as you said in the beginning, we won't put any limitations on God. And you are here today, and that is a witness to that fact. So thank you very much. some hardcore for that.
Again. Auf Wiedersehen. That is isolated, and groups can vote for the election of the delegate. The gentleman of the committee came to me very serious and he said, "You must come tomorrow speak about the Guardian for an hour." And I said, "I can't speak for an hour. My doctor said I cannot speak more than 5 minutes at a time because I strain my heart. What shall we do? You want me for 5 minutes?"
Yes.
So I try to be obedient to the institution of the faith. When he asked me, I thought he was asking me to go to the moon and come back. And they filled the field. Here is a little moon here. To ask me to speak about the Guardian is not a simple matter. If I had to unravel 60 years of the life of the Guardian, will take me 60,000 years to do it. I'm not joking. And I don't know where to start. Abdul Baha is August Father called him the mystery of God. And the name I have given to show defending myself that I never told them was the light of the century. The light of the century. Truly I say, I don't believe that there has been a man in the world of science or of literature and a Nobel Prize and so on that had it's beautiful. Yesterday I was sitting back there. Can you hear me back there?
Yes.
And I'm not a lukewarm. I cannot call it a mystery. But as I say, the light of the century. It means that he will remain a great light of this century that took him as a baby and brought her into his day. And to the end of this century, which will be coming in a few weeks around the corner. Sugar film. I can't start to tell you anything of sugar film. A person also dedicated to the cause of his great-grandfather, of our law. I will say things that come to me. I have no notes, no books, nothing but little memory. For those who are new in the faith, or for those who do not read the writings, which is the generality, the demon existed in creation. Did you, any one of you, bring a little demon here to the store parties? I say those who have read a little, those who have no time to read, those who spend the time in front of the television, or those who spend the time before a slot machine have not read these things. But the Father and the Son, and all three died in infancy. And he must have been very much concerned that who should see him at his passing. And finally, the first daughter, with his daughter, married an Afghan, and a little boy was born. And the master was overjoyed, the little boy, and gave him a name chosen by him. You know that? I think the Persian perhaps know the meaning Shogi means. This is the most important part of the life of Shogi Effendi, his name. Shoki in Arabic, he changed it, like Shoki was a little too much Arabic. He made a very nice English word from Shoki and made a Shogi. Shogi means eager. I wonder, really, I would like to ask you how many friends are here that they are eager, really, without offending anybody, who are willing to do things, to work at night, to suffer, to be persecuted, to write, to translate, eager. The 24 hours of the setting we have, and the sun and the earth and the night and the moon weren't sufficient. They were not sufficient for I spent some time in Haifa with the guardian, but he didn't want me in Haifa. He sent me all over the world to do things for him, and I think I served him well. I think that this is a conspiracy. He said, this old man, why comes he and tell a story? It's a little word. What is a ventilator?
No, it's a works man, I think.
I think it's a chopping machine that they're making hamburger.
Correct.
Something like that. William. So we have this little baby. Shoulder. He gave it a name as if the master had it in his mind for a long time. Shogi. And Shogi answer to the meaning of the word Shogi from the moment he was born, from the moment that he went to eternity. Believe in me, friend, if any one of us will have that eagerness to live a full life, a full Bahá'í life, would imitate the guardian, and he would not be able to imitate it perfectly, because he was the only one who could do that. His dedication to the cause of God was the first thing that was put in his body. Obedient, very obedient. He had one great wisdom, which I do not have, that is, not speaking too much. He was not ambitious in the sense as we are ourselves. We had to be general managers and ministers. We had to be anything in disguise because we are God. It was nothing like that. The greatness of Giachery came from a choice of his own. He was humble. Sometimes, I was close to him for some time. I worked for him for about 9.5 years. And speaking of himself, he was darling, really, because Giachery was so innocent, like a baby. You can't believe it. I have cried before him, because people would come there and they were saying, we're doing this and we're doing that, and I knew very well. It wasn't so. And he believed it about that. And when the things didn't come to pass, he felt like a little boy and they give him a toy and take it back away from him. That's the best I can say. I won't say candies, but a little toy. He was humble. And he used to say to me, Ugo, I'm only the guardian of the cause. What can I do? I'm only the guardian. A man of us would never say, I'm being the guardian of the cause, I do this. He said of a Roman king, that he wasn't king at the time, that the time he will become king and emperor, he will have cut the heads of all the Romans. This is a very good form of amusement. Cut the heads of all the Romans. Giachery was humble. He was very shy. He was very proper. Perhaps he had the education that a little girl that is brought up with perfection had. He didn't have dreams of wealth, he did not have dreams of power, he did not have dreams of becoming a tyrant as he would be there in many churches. I was telling the friends as we came here that in Christianity, the church has made a Sunday the day of rest. But the church doesn't rest on Sunday. All the bells are ringing from everywhere. Masses and matrimony and christenings and procession and singing and so on. It wasn't in the time. Very shy. Very shy. And he always used to say, jokingly, sometimes they used to, I was there a period of time where food was not available. It was moving from the mandate of the British Empire to the government of the Israelis. And the food disappeared. Because those who were growing few things out of the sand, they were Arabs and fled. And we had a couple of cooks, they were Arabs, really, they were not cooks. And he would look at the food and he said, the guardian likes to control things. And he would see things in the bread and sometimes he didn't eat it. He was controlling. I mean, that's the type of a mentality here. He never refused anything. For weeks and months we didn't eat anything, just a little concoction, I don't know what it was. I don't make the comparison with the stool, so it's a bit, don't have any evil thoughts. This was a sugar friend. And the person he was devoted to was his grandfather. It will take me days to tell you this history of the garden. Because there are little details that have not been written down. and there are the things which have a magnitude, a regal magnitude of the things he did. And he was not attached to his parents. I don't know. And he was born in a room, ceiling very high to have air, because the Arabs don't like windows. And then stairs, absolutely not negotiable. You could not go on those stairs without stairs. But he went up and down, speaking about the wall. And Giachery attached his grandfather. To him, he was the link that connected himself, little Giachery, to God, the truth of the God. He do not have the, let's say, privilege, mathematical or mathematical seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a meaning. I'm not giving a new number for numerology. I'm just telling you, and the age that he passed away was 60. 60. And 6 and 3, 9 when he was born. And 3, 9. Well, these are the speculation I make because I'm sick here in my head. It's a machine, it's always revolving. And sometimes I can't sleep. Modest. No nourishment. If you read whatever you ever read, they call it the soup of a god, a few bones boiled in water. And of course, I noticed a lot of friends here, they are well built, they have been eating everything that is produced on earth. We didn't have such a privilege. Obedient, you know, in Arab country, still now, women are not given not much attention, are still chaplains. That's why they take it 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 wives to do. Because a woman is something you spend for 3 days and then finish. And Giachery attached himself to the master. And the master could not receive anybody where there were women living, because it was not permitted. They were living in an Islamic world, and the eyes, the intelligence, the chicanery of the Muslim were to find something he was doing wrong. So he had a little tent built in the courtyard. I hope that they made a garden like it was at the time. I haven't been there for some time. Like with the date trees. And Giachery, even as a little child, would follow his grandfather. And as he grew, before he went to school, he would follow his grandfather and sit by him, not on a chair like you're doing now, like I'm doing now, but on the ground, cross-legged like that. I tried once in India. They were giving a dinner for me, but I didn't know that I'm not sitting at the table. There were a tablecloth spread all over the room, and everybody sat down gently. You only see the two big torso from the under the dresses. and they were all sitting down. And I sat for 5 minutes, and the pain I had, it was like I was going to I don't know, a torture machine. The sugar family said to the Lord. And I observed that sometime when he sat in the shrine of Bahá'í, and he had chanted, he set it away. I suffered with this chair yesterday, really, I was very sick. They had a chair of a torture, this. Either too small or too hard or something else. And Sugar Fendi sat there. He never said anything. But he reached to the point that sometime when men of importance, Muslim, they were leaders, they were sheikhs, they were mullahs, they were coming to consult with the master, with Abdul Wahab. And the master weighed what the questions were, and sometimes he said, Shogi, you answer this question. And the little boy would answer the question with a great wisdom. The master had 4 daughters. And as long as Bahá'í lived, so long as the master lived, they behaved. But before that, when the children were born to the other sisters of Giachery, the mother, the master will go walk around wringing his hands and say, more trouble for Shogi, more trouble for Shogi. Believe me, the life of the guardian was woven on these things you don't find in writing, because ugly things nobody wants you to write. But it is history. I didn't write, I was starting a second book, but I have not the strength anymore. And the Sugar Fendi had a life of misery. The suffering. He tried first the brother-in-law. Nair. It was in afternoon. The guardian said he is the most crafty, cunning, intelligent man, capable of anything. I dictate a letter to him. When he brings to me to sign it, he has to change the letter to mean the contrary. And he was not only himself. And his brother was a captain in the Iraqi army, and he would say to me, look at that, an army. The great-grandson of Bahá'í is a soldier in the army. And this has happened with all the children who were born from the 4 sisters. They all left him alone, and before they left him alone, he did so many mischievous things. I can go into detail. I wanted to tell you the atmosphere. It was not, when a new baby is born, there is a nursery with air sterilized, and everybody with mask, and so the baby. It was not in that condition. It was a poison everywhere around them. These are the conditions which will make you love the guardian. And there was no one to defend them. No one. No one. I don't want to go into this detail, but I wanted to know, you must love the garden like you love the most beautiful wife you ever bought in the market, whatever you choose your wife. Because he didn't have a moment of joy. The moment of joy for Sugar Fendi were those when a victory was well, he was informed that it was a victory. Maybe something of a very little importance, but to him it was like a great feast, a great marriage, a great music, a great orchestra, a divine flash of lights coming. And you should have seen him happy. He lived it for nothing but a cause. This thought I wanted to leave with you is, once he said to me, people said, I'm a good Bahá'í. He said, there is no good Bahá'í or bad Bahá'í. There is one adjective, Bahá'í, that's all. But you have to find your way to be Bahá'í. Yeah. You don't make a compromise with your conscience. You don't beat your wife. Well, I don't know if it happens here, but anywhere. If he was to starve, he starved like every other. He has to work at the time it was not enough for him. I had a room that looked at his bedroom. And my heart was broken all the time. Because I will look through the curtains, his light burning at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, sometime at 1 o'clock in the morning, he was working. He didn't have any form of a comfort as we can have in ourselves. And we go on tantrums if we cannot have the food that we want. And if you are not go to something, it makes the house look you more prosperous than you really are. He wasn't interested in this. The faith was. The faith. He would, one time, I'm sad to say this thing, but if my lease on life is only shorter and shorter. I wanted to leave you this impression of the Guardian. One day he said to me, out of the open air, Ugo, have you ever lifted a dead body? I said, no. Although I was in the war, I didn't lift any dead bodies. He said, I'm trying to pull dead bodies all along. Are we dead bodies still? I don't know, they give you the answer. Each one when I was a little child, my mother said, look on your conscience. If I did something which was a little bit reproachable. And I said, Mama, what is conscience? He said, it is here. And all the time I was looking for my conscience in here. A pure heart. If you have a pure heart, you'll never do anything wrong, believe me. On coming here, I went into a series of inconvenience because my legs don't hold me up anymore. I have legs of cream cheese to make it nice. And so I have need of wheelchairs. And when I had to change from one plane to another, they sent a young man with a wheelchair. He was not an European. He was a Negroid, mixture with the local Indians, good looking, and he was born in a country where the French is spoken, but the French over 700 years ago. I could never understand what they said. Nice looking boy. And he wheeled me around. And he was very kind to me. And I asked him if he smoked. No, he didn't smoke. Do you drink? No, I don't drink alcohol. And he was from Haiti. It's very interesting to you. Because I know, in Haiti we have a school, finally. I spent much time in Haiti. It's one of the little islands on the Gulf of Mexico. Half is Spanish speaking, it is the island of San Domingo, and the other half has been in the hand for dictators for over 100 years. They suck the production of whatever it is produced in the island, and the rest of the population will die of starvation. And so I asked him, have you gone to the Bahá'í school? He said, yes. It's very close to where I live. And what have you done about it? Nothing. So he came to France and have a job, and he pushed decrepit men to move from one planet to another. So was the time to change the plane, and I spoke to him. I said, look, his name was Alexis, something like a very nice name, very polite. And he said to me, they promised me an advancement with a little pittance they gave it to me, like 1,000 kroner a month. You can't eat anything. But in his hometown, they eat 2 mango fruits per day. That's all it is. 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. And they are all so thin, they are almost transparent. I said, look, Alexis. He said, they didn't promise them. I said, you forget all the friends that ever promised things to you. Not that they don't believe them, but you turn to a person that will help you. And he said, who's that? Well, I said, I'll tell you. If you turn to this person, I'm going to tell you, you will get this job and a better job and a better job. But first of all, go back to school. He had all 3rd grade. He could hardly read and write. And finally, when we were getting into the plane, I said, you know the person it is? He is a man we call God. You speak to God. To him only. Don't speak to nobody else. Don't think that your father-in-law, the uncle, or the father, now knows the ministers, and knows the doorman of the palace, of the royal palace, and so on. He's going to do a miracle for you. He won't. He thinks first for himself. But God will. Well, I left him, and I left him thinking. And I'm telling you this to you. Don't think that he's your father-in-law or somebody or a friend or somebody promised you. The beauty of the by faith, you can talk to God until you are exhausted of talking to God. My longing now, I came here with great joy because Scandinavia has been, for me, the purpose of my life. I married to Scandinavia. And I've taken such love to Scandinavia. I know that some are false Scandinavia in the sense of place of birth and passport and so on. This is not. But many other nationalities will come here. And I tell you this by statistic, that some of the pioneers, they go to any country after 3-4 years, using a vulgar expression, or they throw away the sponge, I mean, when you wash the car, and change it. They think it is a better place to go in another place. Friends, we are not building civilization over there. I'm not saying I'm pulling dead bodies. Dead bodies are pulling. And yet, he was so generous and so encouraging that if you go back to his writing, you find he raised the cry of glory for what the believers were doing. I have taken the Shogefeni life as a pattern for me. And if I had the grace of having a child, I'll make it a perfect memory, number one. No, I'm very sincere, and you must forgive me, and the committee must forgive me, and everybody forgive me. But yesterday I was shocked at the terrible. Here, at this school, the parents were playing in a slot machine with the children all day long. The difference, this is not the faith of the Lord. If you want it essential. I remember people who, because the bodies don't know looking at me. These are compromises you make with your conscience. I shouldn't think that anybody compromise in this country. God. But the work of Shogefeni is monumental. You will never realize it unless one was bombed by the British and they destroyed. One, I made it in America, and I didn't have the money to take it with me when I came pioneer to Europe. And it was finished. Now I have the third one. It isn't as good, as complete as the way the first two. And I started when I was about 9 years old to make a library. You know the expression, a bookworm? Well, I'm a big worm. When I had the time, now that you know, I don't even know what a computer is. I only know the name. I know I get the bills by computers. And I get everything by computers. But what we want is to build up a knowledge of the faith. I was flabbergasted. I was shocked. I was terrified. I nearly squeezed a few tears from my eyes. I went and gave a course on something in a country of Europe. It would be beautiful. They don't say where it was. Was it not here? Ask him, because I say something and somebody contradicts me. And then I say, but it is not so, because it's not in writing. And he has invented himself. And I said, please, there were 450 people, almost as many are here. Most of them arrived in the Mercedes-Benz, which is the best car in the world. I don't speak about Rolls-Royce and Jaguar and all kinds of animals, etc. And I said, will you please, those who have read the God passes by, here, everybody, they were looking to one each other. I'm not going to embarrass you and ask you how many have read the God passes by. But if you not read the God passes by, you better go home and learn it. This is the best book that Shogefeni wrote. Literary work. Literary work. If there was a Nobel Prize for history, but this gentleman, Nobelians, don't give a prize to religion writing. They keep away because it is a matter of much distrust and conflict and so on. 8 people raised their hand. 3 they were British, it just happened to come there. Myself, 1 native from the land, and a couple of young girls, that's all. Nobody. Shall we try You cover your faces so I don't see your face. How many have already got passes by? It is a percentage about 1.5%. It makes my heart cry, really. You can't speak with authority on the faith. Authority, not that they say to the people, every people says, you must do this because not we are a bar. It was man that yesterday was smoking. I said it for himself. People who smoke are already decreed by law of the things are forbidden. Was smoking. I told him not to smoke. He was very peeved with me. People answer me and they say, smoking, I will keep on smoking and nobody is going to stop me smoking. I was in a hospital. I always go to hospital because the friend squeezed me so hard that something was wrong. And I was in a hospital that this happened in Italy, I can say that. And it was an old hospital built about 300 years before. And it was working with the tempo of 100 years before. And there was a nun, a nice nun. She must have been a very beautiful girl that took care of me. And I don't think she had met a man like me before, in the sense, I'm not speaking about physical grace or disgraceful things in my body or something, no. I'm speaking in the normal life. And she used to come and see me, often giving me pills and things and put me out. And sometimes she would come during the night to see me, not because she wanted to do something, I wanted to see if I was asleep or was not asleep. And one day I said, saw Rose, the name of her, why do you come at night? He said, at the end of this war here, there are 125 people who are dying of cancer of the lung. They have been smoking. And I come, but there is no hope anymore. And if I tell anybody that smokes here, they say, this doesn't happen to me. I mean, things like that. We don't need to survive by smoking. We are little locomotives, but they're very dangerous locomotives because they destroy your lungs. And it doesn't produce it. They make, in France, little girls, they come, I live near a school, they're about 10, 11 years old. They come out with a cigarette and they show that they are mature women. I mean, one day I just told, I saw one girl and I said, but you are so little girl, why do you smoke? You think it's a fashion. I mean, this has an utterly importance. I'm speaking. There is a book, a master book beside I don't know. Yeah. The doctor said 5 minutes. It's an hour already. The doctor said 5 minutes. And I disobey him. I should not have come. When I wrote to the dear Mr. Akerdol, the Secretary of the National Assembly, we are very good friends. I said, I come with joy because I wanted to share the joy of the friends for the achievement, the conquest they have obtained in these years of building up, and I tell you this with all my heart. I admire all of you. I said yesterday a few words about it. Scandinavia is the country where the pioneers don't quit. There is something mysterious to that. And Some of us that are very good looking, I'm not speaking about myself. Those that are very good looking and pleasant and willing to do things, we are getting a little seedy. We are getting on the side of the door. But we are sticking to the job here. We are sticking to the job. And I came with joy. And I'm still very joyful. And I wish I had the strength to speak to you until tomorrow. But this stomach, the aching, hunger, I don't think anyone can be hungry here. We are filled by the Spirit of God. Are you the bell ringer? No, you're not the bell ringer. Well, this is very little about Shoghi Effendi, I will say to you. But he is an example. The most all these writing of interpretation and those that he wrote of his own heart. One of the most wonderful. I didn't bring the book, but I said surely everybody has one in his pocket. It is the Advent of Divine Justice. Page 7, page 18, page 20, page 50, up to the end. It is the rule of a Bahá'í life, like he lived, in his purity, in his simplicity, in his loving attitude towards the world. These things you should read. Thank God I got rid of my television. I don't waste the time in front of a television, believe me. All nonsense, lewd things, battles, killing. The most detrimental things they can destroy the soul of a man. It is not necessary. The world is filled of lotteries everywhere. And they promise prizes that make you tremble. You be rich like Lord Lipton. In a few minutes you buy a ticket for 5 krona and you win the 3 billions or 4 billions or something. So nobody works anymore, truthfully, all over the world. The economy of the body, if Mr. Waymark is here, he will agree with me. The economy of the world is built on producing automobile and sucking oil from the ground. And that's all. And then the lottery gives all the money for our pressure. We come here, we go anywhere, we travel around with an automobile that costs $30,000 or $40,000. There are automobiles now they cost $200,000. And you're so proud you go on automobile, then go and kill a few people next turn. It isn't the source of joy. The source of joy is to found this pleasure of starting. We are at the very beginning started this commonwealth, this living together. This I don't use the word love because word love is like a football. Everybody kicks it, and then when they get tired of kicking, they quit. This is not that. I say affection, dedication to each other, to help each other. I was telling to a friend last night, my dream has been is not possible and it's no more possible. To have a school, a super school, where it isn't the body that is cured, it is the soul that is cured. And when the soul is cured, the body marches forward better. Now, I'm disappointing you. You wanted to know the Guardian. Well, I'm telling you the Guardian. Go and buy the Advent of Divine Justice. Believe me, it is, we have the tablet of Moses. and other tablets of other religions, and other writing of other religions, and Christianity has come up. But words like Ugo Effendi, from his own mind wrote what is the life of a Bahá'í, it's in those books. See, I loved my wife not because of her beauty, because of it or that, but she was the epitome of most wonderful, honest, upright, loving, generous person, which is a characteristic of the Scandinavian. But she had it multiplied by 100,000. See, and my dream was, or is a will, to have a school where I can get children between 5 and 10 and make them the citizen of the world commonwealth. The doctor will punish me now because I spoke more than 5 minutes. But if you agree with me, and if I don't suffer like I suffer all the time with terrible pains. I forget about the pain. And you want me to speak to you more? You ask the committee. But don't tell the committee to ask me to go to the moon because I can't make it. It is impossible. So, I wanted to, there was something more. I never know notes. I was looking for the handkerchief. When I cry from my nose, excuse me. I'm an exceptional man. Often I dream about your friend. Very great comfort to me. And Ugo Effendi had I don't use again the word love. Ugo Effendi had a sort of affection for him. He had a brother, but they betrayed him. He had a cousin, they betrayed him. And he was left alone. The ants, not ants the one that walk this way, the ants, the daughters of the master, they all went against him when he passed away, when the master passed away, and was left alone. Alone, alone, alone. I know what it is to be alone. I live alone now. And I bump my head or something like that. And it is very, but I have a comfort over my little library. I get books. And I go into revels of joy. The world is to come, the world. Who's going to make it? No, I'm on the very near the exit door. But you are here. You are here. I wish Scandinavia will come out into the world as a possible winner of a Nobel Prize. A Nobel Prize that will never realize into money. With the joy of establishing an order that has never existed. And it will come. If each one of us will do. If we forget everything else that the gardener was, first thing in the morning is the faith. Sometimes his wife would ask him, did you like the breakfast? Breakfast? No. What breakfast? Well, I send you the breakfast. Oh no, still there. But this has happened every time. Or luncheon. He was so involved in this vision of the greatness, how it is in his writing. This greatness, the description, which you read the fable because there is a fable because they are something unreal, but that everybody longs for. Well, I can't say anymore because I'm getting weary. And I have a heart that doesn't want to work on, what is the day, Tuesday? It doesn't work well on Tuesday. Maybe tomorrow will be better. But I tell you, my joy to be here with you. I know most of the world, except the leftist nations who have not been there. And there are very few countries that have from the 149 National Assembly a standard which will stand out for the rest of the city, the town, or the village. You don't want to go and tell the people things and then it changes. They are needed to look at you, and they know you are not the kind. And they come to you. And the day you will do that, the fate will go, the sail filled with wind, bearer of joy, bearer of order. This is an appeal I'm making to you. Shall we change it? Put your children when they're young in a diet of writings from the faith. Don't get the difficult things and believe it. There is no one that I know is a theologian in the faith. There's no theologian. There is the law of God, it is at the door, and you open the door, it is there, and you will live according to that. No interpreter, no minister, no cardinal, no popes, no this, no that, no that. The people are killing each other in India, in Sri Lanka, and all over the world. If they don't like anybody, they take off his head. And what do they do back? Then, if you allow me to speak to you again, I speak about how cannibalism was cured by a dear man that was a great man. He was not a Bahá'í by name, he was a Bahá'í by spirit. He did something great. I wish I could be, I have a horse. I used to be a good horseman, but I can't ride a horse because I'll be falling from the back. And lead you to this joy. I am always joyful in my heart. There is no dwelling of anger, of envy. One of the maladies of the century, it is envy. Oh, I have been subjected to some kind of these medicines of being envied. When for what? For my big ears? No. Envy for what? I don't know. Envy. They were doing fiendish things against me in the faith. I don't go into that because still now I have the strength to do. God is my solace and my defender. And believe me, the hand of God, the riches. I've seen day after day what happens. There is, we'll speak on that sometime in metaphysics. Believe in me, and Giachery was, he knew that. Anything you do wrong when you try to forget, it will bar the door of eternity for you. And so you'll be a lost soul. Then I say to you, arrivederci, Kodafes, au revoir, Shabika.